Signs of quiet wealth. Why rich people avoid big logos. If you think wealth looks loud, you're already looking in the wrong place. Big logos, flashy brands, obvious labels. That's what most people associate with money. But here's the reality: the people who actually have wealth, they usually avoid all of it. No oversized logos, no need to prove anything, no obvious signals. And that's not an accident, because real wealth doesn't try to be seen. It moves differently, controlled, intentional. While everyone else is trying to look rich, they're focused on being rich. And once you understand why they avoid those visible signals, you start to see wealth in a completely different way. If you think wealth looks loud, you're already looking in the wrong place. Big logos, flashy brands, obvious labels. That's what most people associate with money. But here's the reality: the people who actually have wealth, they usually avoid all of it. No oversized logos, no need to prove anything, no obvious signals. And that's not random, it's a pattern. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Because the way people display money often has nothing to do with how much they actually have. In fact, it's usually the opposite. The louder the signal, the weaker the position. And the quieter the signal, the stronger the control. This is where most people get it wrong. They assume visibility equals wealth. If someone is wearing expensive brands, driving attention-grabbing cars, constantly showing status, they must be rich. But real wealth doesn't depend on attention, it depends on control over time. Control over decisions, control over how money is used, not how it's displayed. And that difference changes behavior completely. Because once you have real control, you stop needing external validation. You don't need people to recognize your status. You don't need approval from strangers, and you definitely don't need logos to communicate your position. That need disappears. Which leads to the first shift. From signaling to selecting. Most people use money to signal. They buy things that show others what they can afford. Clothes with visible branding. Accessories that stand out. Items that are easily recognizable, because the goal isn't just ownership, it's recognition. But wealthy individuals operate differently. They select, not signal. They choose things based on quality, function, and longevity, not visibility, not trends, not what gets attention. This is why their choices often look simple on the surface: minimal designs, neutral colors, low or no branding, but underneath that simplicity is intention. They're not buying for others, they're buying for themselves. And that creates a completely different standard. From impression to experience. Another reason logos disappear is because priorities change. Most people focus on impression, how they look, how they're perceived, what others think when they walk into a room. But people with real wealth shift toward experience. They care more about how something feels than how it looks. Comfort over attention, function over display, fit over brand name. Because once you can afford almost anything, the question is no longer, can I buy this? It becomes, is this actually worth it? And most heavily branded items fail that test. They're designed to be seen, not necessarily to be the best, so the focus shifts. Less branding, more substance. There's also a psychological layer here that most people don't consider, and it explains a lot. When someone is still building wealth, there's often an urge to show progress, to prove that things are working, that the effort is paying off. And one of the easiest ways to do that is through visible consumption, things that others can immediately recognize as expensive. But once wealth is established, that urge fades, because there's nothing left to prove, no need to validate success externally. And without that pressure, behavior becomes more private, more controlled, more selective. This is why you'll often see a strange contrast. Someone earning a moderate income wearing heavily branded items, and someone significantly wealthier wearing something that looks almost plain, at least on the surface, because the difference isn't money, it's mindset. One is trying to show wealth, the other is trying to preserve it, and those two goals lead to very different decisions. Another important shift happens around attention itself. Most people want to be noticed. They want recognition. They want their success to be visible. But attention comes with trade-offs. It attracts judgment, expectations, sometimes even pressure. Wealthy individuals understand this. So instead of attracting attention, they manage it. They reduce unnecessary visibility. They avoid standing out in ways that don't serve them. Because attention isn't always an advantage, sometimes it's a liability, and minimizing it becomes part of maintaining control. This is where quiet wealth starts to make sense. It's not about hiding, it's about choosing where and when to be visible. And that level of control is what separates appearance from reality, because anyone can look rich for a moment. But maintaining wealth over time requires discipline. And discipline doesn't usually look loud. It looks subtle, intentional, and often invisible. Once you start noticing this pattern, something changes. You stop being impressed by obvious signals, and you start paying attention to behavior instead. What people prioritize, how they make decisions, what they avoid, because those details reveal far more than logos ever could, and that's where the real difference begins. And once you understand that difference, your entire perspective starts to shift, because now you're no longer asking, how does this look? You're asking, what does this actually do for me? That question alone filters out most unnecessary decisions, and it leads to the next shift from spending to protecting. Most people use money to upgrade their image, better clothes, better accessories, more visible signals of success. But wealthy individuals think differently. They focus on protecting what they've built, not just growing it, but keeping it. And that changes how they spend. Every purchase is evaluated. Does this hold value? Does this improve my life? Or is this just for appearance? Because money spent on signaling is money that stops working. It doesn't generate returns. It doesn't create leverage. It doesn't build anything long-term. So over time, those choices get eliminated. Not because they can't afford them, but because they don't make sense anymore. From attention to control, there's also a deeper reason behind quiet wealth control. When your lifestyle is loud, visible, and easy to read, you lose a level of privacy. People make assumptions. They form expectations. They start measuring you based on what they see, and that creates pressure. Wealthy individuals avoid that. They keep their lifestyle controlled, not exposed, because control gives flexibility. It allows them to move without constant scrutiny, to make decisions without outside influence, to operate on their own terms. And that's far more valuable than attention. This is why quiet wealth often goes unnoticed. Because it doesn't try to stand out, it doesn't announce itself, it doesn't rely on visual signals to communicate status. Instead, it shows up in behavior, in how someone manages their time, in how they make decisions, in what they choose not to do. And that's harder to see, but much more real. So when you start observing people differently, you notice something interesting. The loudest signals are often the least stable, and the quietest ones are usually the most secure, because real wealth isn't built to impress, it's built to last. And lasting wealth doesn't need constant validation. It doesn't need recognition. It doesn't need approval. It just needs structure, discipline, and control. So the next time you see someone covered in logos, trying to project status, ask yourself, this about wealth or about appearance? Because once you understand the difference, you stop chasing visibility and you start building something real. If this changed how you see money and status, don't just agree with it. Apply it. Start paying attention to your own decisions. What are you buying for value? And what are you buying for validation? That one question can shift everything. And if you want more breakdowns like this, clear, practical, and focused on what actually matters, make sure you're following, because the next video might change how you see success entirely.